Hello and welcome to Celebrity Customer Experience Riffs with me, Jill Raff, where we talk about everything relevant in the moment, sharing stories from the perspective of CX, of course, from the inside out, from employee experience to customer experience, because I am obsessed with employee experience creating outstanding customer experience. I believe that every customer deserves to have the same pampering treatment as a celebrity. And it does begin from the inside, which is why my proprietary process is called the Inside Out Framework from EX to CX, because I guarantee you that without a doubt, outstanding employee experience will produce stellar customer experience. My parents and grandparents' first McDonald's franchise was store number 150, opened in Ocala, Florida, March of 1959, when McDonald's was the gold standard of the restaurant industry. Sadly, with so many brands now experienced, long gone are the days where most owners are hands-on and involved in doing whatever is needed to take care of their employees and their customers. So, due to my upbringing in the McDonald's family and careers across various industries, ranging from fashion to restaurant to real estate, spanning 6 countries, that golden thread throughout, which I learned as a very young child, was Ray Kroc's motto that the customer is always right. Well, and whether they're right for you is another matter, because I don't believe that customers have the right to be rude, entitled, and disrespectful. But CX is truly in my DNA, and understanding viscerally that great EX creates extraordinary CX. So, my guest today is someone that also understands this concept at his core, having a hospitality mentality. I am so excited today to welcome Eric Cacciatore, host of the Restaurant Unstoppable podcast and Now Network.
Yeah.
Eric, yeah, we're going to get into that. Rocket. Eric was a student of hospitality and marketing, and as a life learner, in his quest to further his knowledge on topics related to restaurant operations, management, leadership, and marketing, and to serve aspiring restaurant owners, he has not only discovered podcast in the process, which was his goal, but now 746 episodes in of his own podcast, from a wide range of interviews from chefs, restaurant owners, operators, and great industry leaders. Eric's Restaurant Unstoppable is undoubtedly the #1 restaurant podcast.
Oh,
So
thank
I
you.
think I think it's fair to say that we're
What
going to have
an what an
a very
intro.
interesting conversation on your insights today, gleaned from all the knowledge that you have from your perspective on restaurants now and in the future, Eric, the big picture and the small details. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. That was an incredible introduction. I feel flattered. Thank you for having me today.
It's my pleasure, and I just speak the truth. It's all you. So, absolutely. So, Eric, in our pre-call conversation, we got into some great, deep, interesting points on the topic. So, I'm looking forward to kind of reviewing, talking about those again, and exploring further for those who, unfortunately, didn't get insight into our conversation. We kind of got carried away, and it's great, and we could both do this, which is why we're doing what we're doing, and we love what we're doing. So. Let's start, Eric, with a bit of background for everyone listening today or on the replay. So if you are listening live, please comment, be a part of the conversation. I can see when you comment and we'll bring you in on the conversation. And if you're listening in the replay, please also comment, tag us, and we'll be sure to respond and create that conversation within the comment box in the replays. So, Eric, in your own words, please share with us how you got into this world of hospitality and specifically the restaurant industry.
Yeah. Before I share the kind of the backstory, I just want to start. It's kind of traditional for me to share a success quote or a mantra whenever I
Cool.
start on my show. So I want to do that for you.
Love
And one
it.
of the biggest lessons I've learned doing the podcast Restaurant Unstoppable is that the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know anything.
Mm.
And I can't wait for this conversation, but I don't have all of your answers. I just have my perspectives and the lessons I've learned, listen to other people, but what works for them might not work for you. And I think it's important to know that there is no one way, that it's really about a matter of learning as many different things as possible and then taking all those lessons and applying them to your current situation, your current unique individual like needs, your strengths, your weaknesses. And I mean, that's the big lesson. Just be a student of life
Mm.
and constantly be learning and constantly know that you don't know. So you can have that open mind. Because if you think you know, I mean, it's good to have confidence, but it's also good to have an open mind. You don't want to narrow your scope of possibilities. So
Yeah,
that's
I
just
love that. And I just want to say, add something that I heard yesterday that I think encapsulates this beautifully. It was Ree Perez, who does branding, and he said, POV, your point of view over position. And it's exactly what I love what you said. Like, have your point of view, you know, but don't be stuck in a position where you're not open-minded to take in and learn and grow from others. So
yeah, absolutely.
thank you for starting us out with that. That
No,
is
thank
a
you,
great tip.
for
Yeah.
letting me do it. So to
Yeah.
answer your original question, how I got into this industry, my parents opened a restaurant when I was 3 years old. They had it until I was 13 years old. I continued to work in restaurants throughout high school and college. I went to school to become a commercial pilot. I became a commercial pilot, and I flew professionally until I was 26 years old. And I realized I just wasn't happy with what I was doing. I consider myself more of an EQ, IQ kind of person, or sorry, an EQ, emotionally intelligent, socially intelligent kind of person. I'm not necessarily a fast thinker. I'm a slow, deep thinker. So that life as a commercial pilot just didn't really serve my strengths, you know. And
Mm.
I never felt like I was on the right path or going down the right road. But I'm the kind of person that if you start something, I'm going to finish it. And in my mind, when I got to that point where I was wearing the hat and the uniform and flying big planes, I like the world would change, the clouds would part, and my life would be better. And it just didn't happen. So I found like the analogy I like to use is I lean my ladder against the wrong building, climb to the top, not to the top, but close enough to the top to realize that it wasn't what I thought I was doing, I wasn't on the right path, and I kind of climbed back down. Now I'm setting up a new ladder on a new building. That's kind of like what Restaurant Unstoppable is today. Was just trying to explore. I think I'm leaving out a lot, but I'm trying to make this quick for you. Do you have any
No,
questions up to that point?
take your time. No, well, first of all, I love your visual language. I think we can all imagine, right, that ladder and climbing to your goal and your objective and your dreams, your aspirations, and then good for you for recognizing early on that, you know what, this isn't what I thought it would be, or it's just I learned more about who I am and it doesn't suit my personality now that I know more who I am.
Yeah,
And
but
to me,
who knows who you are when you're 18 years old,
yeah.
you know? So sorry, I cut you short. Finish your thought.
No, no, you're absolutely right. There's no way. I have a son right now who's applying to colleges, and how in the world could he choose a major? Like a lot of these schools want you to declare right up front, and you can't begin to know. You have to have life's experiences
Yeah.
so then you can learn who you are and what you like and what you don't like and what you're good at and maybe not so good at.
Yeah.
And I think the passion, and not even just passion, but I think the things that you really light up from and that you love tend to be the things that you're really good at and somehow leads into and ties into a calling for you to have that purpose to do something. I believe in purposeful living. What about
Love that.
you?
Absolutely. I always say live intentionally, have a destination and wake up every day, intentionally working towards that destination. And that's why it's so important to do these things like visioning to get your core values written down, because there's going to be things
Mm,
every day that try to pull you off that path of, where you're trying to go. And when you have those core values, they kind of help you make those decisions to keep you on the right path. And there's just so many little things you can do to stay intentional. But intentionality is everything for sure.
yeah. Well, I'm glad that you brought up core values. It's something that every business I think thinks about, talks about. Maybe they write something down and they stick it on the wall, or maybe it doesn't even go on the wall. Maybe it just goes in a filing cabinet, but it's never taught to the employees. It's never used in their hiring process even. So I'm actually glad that you brought that up, because it is, to me, the foundation. It's the cornerstone. And it's the most important thing, which is why it's actually my number one ingredient in my proprietary inside out framework that I talked about before, because you do have to have that established. You have to know where you are, because there will be a million squirrels taking you off task. And
For sure.
believe me, I am I'm one of these people, creative and ideas. And I'm like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
My husband teases me, oh, squirrel, another squirrel. Oh,
Uh,
that's a great idea. I know I can do that.
I'm right
Just because
there with you, sister.
you can do something doesn't mean that you should, right? You've heard that one probably.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah. So thank you for bringing up core values, because it is critical.
My pleasure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I finished your original question yet. So I was a commercial pilot. I resigned from aviation when I was 26 years old. Found myself wanting to go back to make my part-time jobs my full-time job working in the restaurant industry, because as a commercial pilot early in your career you don't make a lot of money, like 25,000 a year. You really got to pay your dues before you get to that point where you're making
Mm.
decent money. So I was working in restaurants while I was flying, and I just found myself I was looking forward to my part-time job, working in restaurants. So, but I created a situation for myself where I was $200,000 in debt because I went to school to become a commercial pilot, and I took out loans to do all of that.
Mm.
So, kind of like, it was a really hard time in my life to be like, I'm $200,000 in debt. I was never really worried about it because I just assumed that eventually I'd make enough money to pay it off. But now all these skills, these assets I collected for myself, I'm getting off that track. Like, how stupid can you be? But I was just miserable. You know what I mean? Like, I just knew I wasn't never going to be happy in that track. So I was saying to myself, like, how am I going to pay off my school loans and work in restaurants? And who's going to write me a loan to open my own restaurant when I'm $200,000 in debt? So I was kind of
Mm.
lost. And it was around this time, one of my professors, David Mazer, shout out to David, love this guy. He is a mentor of mine to this day. He was the hospitality, I can't remember the full title, but he was in the hospitality program in restaurants, and he also did sales. And he walked into the classroom one day, and he was like, he looked to his left, he looked to his right, and he said to himself, like, who here listens to podcasts? Nobody raised their hand. So in that day, he assigned podcasting to the class to listen to 3 podcasts under 3 topics and to like report back. And it was,
Ah.
I looked up the topics I looked up were entrepreneurism, marketing, and hospitality. Tons of entrepreneur podcasts, tons of marketing podcasts, not a single good hospitality podcast, which is where I was like, I want this podcast. I was like, I can ask questions, I can talk to people. And that's kind of how Restaurant Unstoppable was born, just to kind of learn from other successful people. And it blew my mind how generous people are with knowledge and stories. And like, why can't we recreate this for the restaurant industry? Why do we have such a reputation of holding secrets close to our chest? And in my mind, I thought if I could break down that culture of the restaurant industry to not be so conservative with your knowledge, but to be generous with your knowledge, we can transform the industry. If we can get the most successful people in the industry to share their perspective, to share their knowledge, and make that information accessible to anybody who wants it, we can transform the industry. And that's the mission statement of Restaurant Unstoppable: to inspire, empower, and transform the industry just by listening to other people who've done it and getting that perspective.
Love it. Oh my gosh. And you're right. Thank gosh for your instructor who gave you that
Right?
assignment, right? Like, thank
Greatest
God, if
teacher.
you think amazing how it,
Yeah,
it transformed your life, right?
absolutely, for sure. And
Incredible.
sorry, that's a
And
little
then
bit. I hope I didn't go too deep into my backstory.
no, please don't apologize. I love it. That's what we're here for. I want to hear all these great. I mean, to me, that's what makes someone interesting. That's what makes someone worth talking to and learning from. It's not just, oh, this is what I do now and it's all business. To me, where you're most successful in business is because you are an amalgamation of everything you've done before in life, and it may not even be tied to business per se. So, it's very interesting and fascinating, and I love it. So yeah, please. This is riffs with Jill Raff. So riff away,
Yeah, and I think there's one more nugget in that story that is worth
Okay, go
sharing,
ahead.
and it was a quote that was what kind of pushed me off the edge to like take the leap and to start the podcast. And it's I think this quote is so powerful, and it's if you make your life about helping other people, if
Mm.
you can have everything. Wait, let me start from the top. If you have everything in your life you want, you will help others people get what they want. I can never remember exactly, but it's like, if you make your life about helping other people, you'll get everything you want. And like, that's what the podcast was for me, is like, I'm just going to help other people who are in the position to open restaurants and share this information. And eventually, if you make it about helping other people, if you make your life about service to others, it will come back to you. You don't know, you don't have to know how it's going to come back to you, but you just have to have confidence that you will be taken care of. And I look back where I was 8 years ago today, 7 years ago today, and I've come so far. So there's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love that quote. And oh my gosh, I'm blank right now. I went to sleep way too last night. My memory. Um, Zig Ziglar. Zig
Yeah.
Ziglar said that. Yes.
Yeah.
Famous, of course, fabulous Zig Ziglar, right? When you take care of others, you will naturally be taken care of. And that's a paraphrase too. But yeah.
And you did mention just recently that, we're always going to have this information coming at us, influencing us, that there's this low road that's just there collecting data, information, constantly influencing us. And I know from previous conversations, you're going to ask me if there's one episode or a few episodes that stick out in my 700 and almost 50 episodes. And the truth is, there's not one episode that sticks out. There's not one person that sticks out. And I don't know if it's because I'm just not a detail kind of person. Like, I've never been great with attention to detail. It's just not in my hardwiring. I'm not saying it's not important. I'm just saying I need to surround myself with somebody who is strong with detail, because I'm absolutely not. And for me, it's just like that. I'm just constantly feeding that low road, of consciousness, of the things that we just don't know are there. I'm just constantly letting myself become influence. And it's like what you eat. If you eat healthy, good food, you're going to feel great. You're going to be sharp. You're going to be healthy. If you fill yourself with good information, positive information, it's going to be there influencing you. You just have to have faith and trust that it's there. And there isn't like one. I'm so bad at just like reflecting back at 750 episodes and being like, this was a huge influence. It's just constant. It's like these like little things just come out of me all the time. I don't even know where they come from. It's just, I'm constantly feeding myself with this knowledge and this information.
Love it. That's the life learner. And I'm the same way. It's like, again, I don't know who said it, because I've heard it, and it's very, to me, it's just obvious, but garbage in, garbage out. It's like a computer. Whatever you put in, you're going to get out. So you're putting good stuff in your mind, in your brain, in your body, then you're going to get good stuff back out. You put garbage in, you're not going to be able to produce anything good from that. So,
for sure.
And that's what's so cool. And that's why I'm really excited to talk to you about just the industry and what's going on, and big picture, small picture, and where we're headed, because you do absorb all these little things, and every conversation we have with someone. And again, I love where you said, I'm not good at this, so that's where I need to align myself with someone who is. It's that 80-20 rule, and I love that. I happen to be sometimes to a fault, a very detail-oriented person by nature, but it was further exacerbated, if I can even say, through my training as a designer, both as a fashion designer, in design school, on the job, and as a food stylist. I'm trained to look at the big picture and create and produce, but I have to also really be able to see the detail and create that detail. So, but there are other areas, and this is why too, again, a different area, but thinking about hiring, I think it's really important to use other tools out there to help us figure out who should we hire. Number one, has to be aligned with our core values that we talked about. But what task are we hiring them for? And are we using them to their best ability in what's been known as their zone of genius? But is it their 20%? Is it the area that they are really good at innately, intuitively, right? Not just a learned skill, because they're going to be able to stay at it longer. They're going to be more productive, more efficient if it's in alignment with what they do. And I'm actually right now, I'm getting certified it's called Type Coach, and it really ties into temperament and personality so that I can help guide people with putting people in the right position, and then saying, okay, for another area, that person, like for me, you put me back of house, in admin, not back of house cooking. I love that. I have that background from my Le Cordon Bleu, but, and McDonald's to Michelin's kind of how I phrase it, kind of the gamut. But, I would be miserable. You put me in front of spreadsheets and things of that nature, like, oh, just kill
Yeah.
me, you know.
Yeah, and I'm
But
trying to figure. I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm still trying to figure out like what's that one thing I'm put on this earth to do,
mm,
and figuring that out, and then reverse engineering it and trying to structure your life around that. And I know we're here to talk today about what the future of the industry looks like. And like that's one of the points I was hoping to make is this idea of we're at this like I hope I don't know what the future of the industry looks like. I have some ideas. I can't make promises. Nobody knows. Let's be
of
honest.
course, of course.
But my biggest fear is that we're all just going to react to what we're told the future of the industry looks like, and we're just going to be in this reaction state like we've been for eons,
Mm,
just reacting. And instead, I encourage people to take this time to stop and to reflect and say, "Who am I? What is the one thing I'm meant to do? What is my picture of perfection 20 years from now?" And then now is the time to to get your life in a situation where you can start reverse engineering that,
yeah.
and making it happen. I think, and this information's out there. I think society in general is becoming very enlightened. I mean, if I'm a knucklehead from East Bumfudge, New Hampshire, and I'm saying this stuff, if I have access to this information and as much of a knucklehead as I am, then there's way more intelligent people out there with the same resources. This is a movement. It's happening everywhere.
It is a movement,
Yeah.
and I love that. I'm actually taking part of this challenge called Lead Your Movement, and I do think that this is a perfect time with everything going on. Instead of just saying, "Oh my God, woe is me," and all this is happening to me. Life doesn't happen to us; it happens for us, and I think this has given us the gift, in a way, to stop and say, what is important in life and what am I good at? How can I contribute? Because crisis does create innovation. And I think it gives everyone right now the opportunity to reimagine how are they going to do what they want in service and what's going to make them happy. And I know I have this um, live broadcast, this live show, we'll turn it into a podcast, for me came about because of COVID, because I want so badly to help others. And I was like, what can I do to help this restaurant industry that's decimated? And I thought, okay, I have the fortune of having the privilege to do live broadcast on LinkedIn, which not everyone does, and it's also going out to Facebook and to YouTube. But I can give voice and shine a light on these restaurants, and let's hear from them. Let's send business their way. Let's see how they are doing leadership right in this industry to shine a light and to set an example for others. And so, I would have probably never done this. I thought, oh, podcast, I'll do it later. But this has been so enlightening. And I think I've been getting notes, from other people. Wow, thank you. You have such a big responsibility, what you're doing. It's really great. You're inspiring me. So, you do the same. Oh my gosh. I love all the sessions and episodes that I've heard. But I think you're right. I think now it would be a shame for people not to stop and take this time to really look within and say, I don't have to subscribe to a prescription of what this restaurant used to be like, or what the industry looked like before COVID, BC, what I call it. And I think it's a mistake when people talk about getting past it or returning to a new normal. I don't think we return. I think we grow into something new, and that's what evolution is. And to me, I think of what's PC, what will be accepted, the new PC, what will be not only acceptable, but what will you do in your restaurant to create a new experience? Because it will not be the same. I don't even like using the word normal, Eric. Just say reality. It's a new
Yeah.
reality, right?
Well,
Um,
it's interesting. I mean, I don't I don't necessarily think anything's changed. It feels like everything's changed, but if you look at what was happening before COVID-19, all the things that people are doing today, people were doing before COVID-19, but because of COVID-19, all these shifts that were happening, they've just been forced to speed up. Like all these things that people were doing to have an edge, to be more active on social media, to to be doing like online events, to be just using all these tools at our disposal. And let's be honest, we're busy people in the restaurant industry. We have so much going on. We have all we can have just to get through the day and do what we're supposed to do. There's usually not that much extra left in the tank to get out there and get creative and to learn and to evolve. So what COVID-19 did is just forced us all to slow down, to stop. We had to. We're being forced to. And then we had to figure out how we're going to survive, because we're usually paycheck to paycheck, week by week, money in, money out. And when we had when we had all this extra bandwidth and we had to figure out what to do to evolve, we just started looking at what was already being done. I think there's nothing new that came out of COVID-19. We're all just being forced to evolve a little bit faster. And I mean, do you want to reflect on that much so far?
Yeah, I do agree that speed has really, I feel like everything is just completely, as much as we've slowed down, the irony is I see things happening faster. We've had to change overnight, right? And I find even between people that the relationships that are forming, the collaborations that are forming, which I always think we're better together than we are alone, are happening much faster. And that makes me very happy. I'm all about the collaboration. And I do believe that we are stronger and better and will do more bigger things together than solo. And ironically, we are separated right now, but we're still coming together, and that speed is really happening fast. And I think that we have to make quick decisions and act on them and implement them. That's the key. And just one thing you said, which I do agree. I think I do differ a little bit. I do think things have changed, and but maybe it's more that they've been heightened, Eric. Maybe it's more that, like, things with regards to safety and health and service, maybe it's more that it's heightened the awareness of what should have already been there. So maybe you're right. Maybe it's not necessarily a change, but actually something that's been, a light's been shined on it to say this is more important than ever. Similarly, I've been saying that customer experience was always important. And that, you're right, that did not change. And for me, it's actually now I'm hearing people use the language that I have been talking about through my teaching, that it's about human connection, genuine connection. I say people are people first and their customers second. And it's that authenticity, that genuine connection, not just connections, which means, self-profit for something and knowing someone, but a genuine connection. And I think the connection is what's going to ultimately be your success. And
well, it's interesting that you say that, because I feel like one of the trends that you're seeing right now is this. I think we're trying to I mean, ghost kitchens and whatever you want, spirit kitchens, whatever you want to call them, this move towards convenience and focusing on the bottom line. And one of the reasons why these ghost kitchens are so attractable, or what's the word? Attracting. Thank you. Is that the overhead to get started is super low, and you can pivot on a dime, as the industry is changing. And it's super convenient for the consumer. The consumer wants more convenient. But I worry sometimes, honestly, because I feel like when you have something that's convenient and affordable, there's usually something that it's usually, if it's too good to be true, you know what I mean? Then what are we losing as a result? And that's one of the things I see why that's so alluring. Why somebody with not a lot of initial startup capital would be drawn to something like that. But at the same time, I have to, ask people to tap the brakes a little bit and say, are we reacting? Are we reacting to what we were supposed to be doing because this is what we're being told the future is? And more people are just racing to that vertical, and that becomes the new standard, where it's a bunch of transactional relationships where we don't even know where the food's coming from, where that source is sourcing their food from. And when you have all these ghost kitchens, and I don't like the idea of not knowing who grew my food or who prepared my food. And I don't want that to become a standard. And I think we've, over the past 10 to 15 years, made a lot of progress over slowing down and being like, it's not just about the bottom line. It's not just about margins. It's not just about convenience. It's okay to slow down. We should slow down. We should support. We should spend more money because it's going to help our community out, and that's where I remind people to not lose all the progress we've gained, because we're reacting, we're scared, and we're just reacting to what we're told. So don't be freaking suckers. Like, open your mind, think about what you're doing, and don't just chase convenience and the bottom line, like, because you'll never have enough. You'll never have enough is one lesson I've learned. So I don't know, some thoughts.
Yeah. I think unfortunately there's a lot of fear, and there's a lot of fear mongering going out that feeds into that. With regards to the ghost kitchen, I'm not sure whether it's the end all, because I do think that there are sacrifices that come as a result of that. But I think it's a really nice idea and a way to fill in a gap for those businesses who were not set up to do deliveries, curbside, those kinds of quick, changing their menus around. So the ghost kitchen to me was a brilliant invention that kind of, well, wasn't invented then, but certainly given more fuel, right? Became a much more important element within the industry that I don't see going away. But I think there's a way to do it by still maintaining that connection, that interaction. So, and I think that's important.
Yeah. Two things I want to say, see if I can keep them in my mind. The first thing is that idea that I think that you can still do everything that a ghost kitchen does operationally, but there can be a person behind that. There can be you don't have to be a ghost. You can be Eric Cacciatore or Jill Raff. Like, you can be that person and still operate that same way. But there's convenience in not having your name attached, because you can drop that brand when that trend has come and gone. And I think this is a perfect example of reacting to the market. I think we need to stop. For as long as markets have existed, it's the consumer decides, the consumer decides, the consumer decides. And I get that, but I think we need to push back on the consumer. The consumers, they're a bunch of knuckleheads. They don't know what they want, and even the consumer is reacting, and the consumer is reacting to what they're told they want, which is they're being marketed to. And it's a stupid freaking cycle, right? Why not tell the consumer, hey, all those things you think you want, like convenience and time and cheap shit, you don't really want, because over time, there's a cost somewhere, whether it's emotional, like just general happiness in society, because nobody needs each other anymore, because we're a transactional society. It pays a toll. And just because you can't see it immediately does not mean that it's not there, So, I mean, I think there's a balance. And I think all these things that you've seen come up with COVID-19, like curbside pickup, online ordering, meal kits, all these things, these conveniences, those are great conveniences. And those are great ways to diversify your product offering. And I think that what you're going to see in the future, we're talking about the future, is those things aren't going to go away. People are going to offer, they're going to have more to offer. And then once the restrictions loosen up a little bit around in-house dining, will come back, because people want to see each other. People want human connection. It's a part, so something I was hoping we would talk about today is this idea that we're learning more and more, and I think this goes back into the customer experience and all about relationships and people. We're learning more and more and more and more about people and how we are and why we are, and like the inner workings of us. And the more we learn about people, the more we realize that all we really need is each other. All we really need is recognition and love and a sense of purpose and a sense of growth and a sense of security. If you can cover those things, if you can take care of those things, we'll be happier than a pig in poop. That's all it takes. But we want so much more, and we're told that we need more. And I think it's an issue with values. I think we just have an issue with values right now in society. And if we can rejigger those values, and kind of help get everybody aligned on some most common values, I think that's what the industry needs right now, is a realignment on values. And I think it's happening. But the truth is, like, cities didn't even exist 10,000 years ago. And in the grand scheme of human existence, that's a little sliver. That's a short period of time. To give you some perspective, and this is just some like random numbers I'm pulling out of my butt. But okay, so that's 10,000 years ago. So if each person on average from 10,000 years to present, and these are just random, these aren't factual numbers, lived to be 50 years old on average, then that's about 200 people ago. 200 people ago, if we're filled in a room with 200 people, all those, and they were born in consecutive order, that's how many people it has taken to get to where we are today from 10,000 years ago, from when we went to hunter-gatherers to farming and agriculture and living in cities. And we forget that it takes a lot more than 200 copies of something to change, you know? And
Yeah.
and we're hardwired to live in tight, close group, tight-knit tribes, you know? Where it literally took a tribe to raise a child, because if you didn't have that support, a wolf would eat your child, you know? Like, and it took the uniqueness, the genius of all these people in your tribe to create a whole, to create something that would be enough to survive. And that's why that's why diversity is so important. That's why I'm horrible with detail and you're great with detail. We're not meant to be exactly alike, because we needed diversity of a group to be successful. And like, we start looking back at how we were. And I think the secret to happiness moving forward into the future is replicating what things were like before the agricultural revolution, when we started being like, oh, well, we don't need each other anymore because we've gotten too good at surviving. But even though we don't need each other anymore, we do. That's the thing. Yeah, like, because we're hardwired. It's in our DNA. And we're learning this, and instead of trying to fight it, it's just like farming. You know, farming is a great example. We got to this point where, you know, we had a centralized food system, and that's not the natural way. And when you lean, the only reason why we went to that is because it was cheap and convenient, you know? And we have to kind of remind ourselves we've made these mistakes in the past. And you can look to that mentality of, you know, the food system of just, instead of trying to make it cheap and convenient, and to serve as many people, like, we should make it like, it's okay if it's not convenient. It's okay if it's hard. It's okay if it's expensive. These things are okay as long as we have each other, you know? And we'll be much happier. And what is it the same? The object is the way. There's joy in suffering, you know? And that's where, in suffering and pain is where growth happens. But we are told to shy away from pain. We're told to not do a lot of work. It's okay to do work. Embrace the work, love the work. You know, like, why is everybody just trying to create systems, processes, procedures? Like, I get that's important. You need those, but you shouldn't want to sit on the beach. You know, you should want to be in your restaurant. You should want to be with the people you've hired. You should want to be with these people. You should love these people. That should be what it's all about. But what we're told that you're not successful unless you have 50 locations and you don't need to have anything to do with any of them. That's not success. You know?
No, and not having anything to do with any of them goes back to my intro. Like, that to me is what's gotten us into the problem that we are now. There is no internal commitment. There's no personal ownership. If we don't see ownership by even the owners, you're certainly not going to see it in the managers and the staff, because you're not leading by example. Right? Yeah. Like, we do need each other's a fabulous TED Talk. You might want to look up. Susan Pinker talked about the life's leading indicator of long life. And the number one thing, Eric, is social connection, human connection to another. And she said, even if it's going and, you know, when you pick up your coffee, talking to the barista, talk to the mailman, go speak to your neighbor, whatever it is, that connection, creating the community that you referred to, that we are hardwired to live within. That's where we come from. We are social beings, and we need each other more than ever. And that's, you know, I come from understanding the systems. You know, I come from McDonald's, so what's nothing more systematic than that? And so I understand the value of that. But to me, they are not mutually exclusive. I think that you need systems and ways so that you can create consistency, but not that everything is bland and you're just producing out, you know, bland, cold, bad stuff, and it's like a robot. But consistency, that people know what to expect. And that could be that people know to expect great quality food, great quality service, connection. And when they walk in, that the person who's serving you is going to know your name, that the hostess is going to say, Eric, thank you. Well, so great to see you again. Thank you for joining us again today, and I know where you like to sit. So we're going to make sure that we get you that table. And would you like that, mango iced tea that you love, or whatever it is, that they know you.
Yeah.
And that's the difference.
Yeah, and that is so powerful. And I think what you're going to see is it's all about balance. That's another big lesson. And there's no one way to do anything. A lot of, like, so many times I'm told that something is the right way to do something, and then like 5 days later I'll have a new guest on the show and they'll say the completely opposite thing. And it's like, which one is it? And the answer is both.
Right. It's
both.
Yes and, right?
It depends.
It's not,
What are you going for? What are your strengths? Where are you in your journey? Like, there's a say yes to everything. You hear everybody say yes to everything. And then there's a lot of people that say no to most things, because everything you say yes to is something else you have to say no to. So it's so like, what's the freaking answer? I would say early in your career, when you have no clue who you are or what you're doing, say yes to everything and get that perspective. But once you start to get an idea of who you are and where you're going, you have to get more selective. So it's all situational.
Yeah.
That's just one example. But I think what you're going to see in the future is this, to come back to that idea of balance, is there's going to be more P. Terry's of the world. And I love P. Terry's, an Austin brand, convenient for you, located in Austin. But I love what they do, because they operate with the systems in the organization in the process of, say, McDonald's, but they do it on a super small scale. I think 19, they're about to eclipse 20 locations. And all those 20 locations are in like a 30-mile radius from each other.
And even expanding into tacos, because Kathy Terry really
that's right.
Tacos. And I think that the thing that I love about them, as a great example, is that they're very involved in their community. So it is local, and it's not just about serving their customers, but they're very, capital conscious about their business and their approach to their business. And for me, success really is not just that a business owner is making money, but it really touches on like all 5 levels of the business. It's the stakeholders, it's the owner, it's the management, it's the staff, everyone, to the dishwasher, right? Like, it's the customer. And then when they make money as a result of doing those things right, the good way, the true, honest connection way of serving from heart, then they give back to the community that supported them. And so I see this as this beautiful, the synergistic cycle that happens as a result of focusing local, taking care of your people, they take care of you, then you in turn take care of your community. And it is a beautiful example.
Yeah. But the idea, like, the reason why I went to P. Terry's as an example is because they treated their little business like a big business, right? They put all these systems and processes in place, not so they can go sit on the beach, but so they can go sit down with their employees and their guests and be present and have conversations and do whatever it is they loved in the first place. They've automated the busy work to focus on the relationships, the things that are going to create a better experience. And I think that, and that's the balance. And I think that what you're going to start to see is that I secretly hope that, and this isn't meant to be any disrespect of what has come in the past, but like, I hope that the McDonald's and the Burger Kings and the Wendy's and the brands that feel like bigger is better, I hope that they start to go away in the future. And I hope that you see people operating at the same level of excellence as far as process and system goes, but on a much smaller scale, because I think that people are going to be hungry for those relationships. And the thing is, relationships are hard to scale. They shouldn't be scaled. We're only meant to handle 150 relationships in our life. Any more than that, it's like, what's the point? And I know that's just my opinion, and I don't mean to disrespect anybody else's opinion, but yeah, I mean, I hope we just see more hyper focused, small, like, micro chains and franchises that focus on relationships more than how big can we get.
Yeah, I think, at the end of the day, it is about that relationship. And in terms of, you've mentioned a couple of times about, just not just going and sitting on the beach. I think it's really important that, first of all, as you know, right, the industry is by nature, it's like this 24/7 rush and putting out fires, and it's crazy and it's hectic, and people thrive off of that energy. But also, we aren't made to be going at that pace all the time either. It's very easy to burn out, or turn to substances to keep us going.
Well, you'll
And
never have enough. That's the thing. They're always trying to get the next, you say substances, right? But I feel like working and always trying to get the next zero, at the end
Mhm.
is the same thing. It's a hit,
Yeah,
like, oh, I got it. That felt good. And then that
right.
becomes normal. And then you need a little bit more to get that surge of dopamine again, the
Exactly.
thing is it's never gonna stop.
It is addictive for
Yeah.
sure. And so I think we do need some time to pull away, because if we're always in that mode, we're not allowed the time to be creative and to relax and just think about, who am I, and where's the direction of this business and this restaurant going, and is it going in the direction we want? I think part of the problem before COVID is that everyone was too busy going, and they didn't, and to get more and to be more and to be the celebrity this and awarded chef that. And but I think that everybody needs to step away and to have that time to say, to kind of do an assessment and a retrospective on, what have we done? Is this in alignment to our core values? Coming back to that. And if not, if we veered from that, how do we bring ourselves back to that? And to me, part of that is also creating leaders at every single level of your restaurant. So not just hiring people that you think are going to be managing and micromanaging, but to give everybody their voice, all employees. To be truly vested in your business means listening to what they want, asking them questions. What is important to you? Not, you've learned through our hiring process what's important to us and what we expect of you. But that's very one-sided. And I think for genuine relationships to occur, starting with the employee experience, has to be a conversation where you ask your employees, what do you see happening right, and do you see happening wrong in the way we're doing our business? And really put your ego out of it, and really listen to what's going on and say, that
Yeah.
is a great idea, let's incorporate that. Because just as raising children, or any experienced teachers in school, when you give validity to and acknowledge someone's ideas and you implement them, they are going to live into those so
They're gonna
much
buy
more.
into it. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
because
a
if they're
part of it. They're
buying in,
contributing.
because
They're seen. They're feeling
yes,
valued.
they're a
Um,
part of it, the big
yeah.
picture.
And, I think, like, um, there's just so many different things I could talk to right now. It's like pick a direction, Cacciatore and go. But, like, back to what you were saying before, like, this idea of, like, just hiring people, and hiring them for their unique, whatever that what is it, 20% of their
Mhm.
whatever. I don't know
Yeah.
the term you use, but it's this
Yeah.
idea, like, we hear it all the time on the show, like, hire for attitude and
Yes.
personality and values, and then once you get this person who's cut from the same cloth, figure out, where from the cloth they were cut, you
Yeah.
know? And then, okay, now that I'm getting to know you, now that I know, oh, you're a really talented artist, you're a really talented, you're really good with technology, like, you really, like, once you and just get to know your people. Again, it's about knowing your people. It's about spending time with them. It's about pulling back layers on your people and figuring them out, and then putting them, once they're on the ship or on the bus, they don't need to have a seat right away. I don't think it's that important. You can put them in seats,
Mhm.
but don't just put them in a seat and forget about them.
Right.
Like, find out what seat is for them. And it's like, and it should be a transformative process. And that's a difference between, I feel like we went in a very transactional way for a long time. And
Mhm.
I fear that when I hear a lot about ghost kitchens and this transactional market online, we're going to continue to go in that direction. Um, but I encourage people to try to be more transformative and to understand that they have an obligation to their employees to help that 18-year-old figure out what they're good at. Because 9 times out of 10, they don't know. They need somebody to be like, hey, I've seen a lot of people come through these doors, and
Right.
you, compared to the other 1,000 people I've hired, are really good at this. And we don't know what we're good at until we're told we're good at it, because for us, it's relative. We don't know how other people experience things. We need to be told we're doing a good job. So it's so important that if you see somebody who is good at something, that you unequivocally know that they're better at that thing than most people. You have to let them know. You have to point it out, because you could put them on you could change their life in that moment because you help them become more self-aware.
Yeah, 100%. And you've mentioned a couple of times, and it's something that is my pet peeve, so much so that it's actually my motto, kind of my tagline of my business, which is, and I have actually a book called Transforming Transactions into Interactions. And interestingly, I spoke at my local real estate office because I was like, let's face the elephant in the room here. Our deals in New York, I'm licensed in New York as well. And in New York, we called it was a deal. But traditionally it's called a transaction. So I'm like, why are we calling it a transaction when we say we're not transactional agents, right? So let's transform what's an exchange of goods and services for money to a genuine interaction. And that's where you're going to have that success. And I love your metaphor of the fabric, cut from the same cloth, and staying on that metaphor. I think the most successful businesses, in fact, studies have shown that businesses who are diverse and incorporate all people of all types, men, women, you name it, regardless of their color and what they believe in, etc., that they are more successful than the more homogeneous looking companies. And just take those different cuts of fabric and weave them together, stitch them together and make this beautiful patchwork
Yeah.
for your company that's gonna. And then truthfully, this is something too that is so important in the employee experience piece, because if your customers see that your business is this beautiful rainbow and patchwork fabric, then everyone who comes in is going to see themselves in your business.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about psychographics right now, and that's 9 times out of 10 people go to a place not because of how good the food is. It's because of what other people think of them when they go there. And
Yeah,
then we're that friggin' shallow. I'm sorry, we're very basic. We're simple. It's not, people want to associate. They want to go to places that they
they
feel
want to
aligned
belong.
with, because they want other people to know what their values are. They want other people to, it's all about association and identity and what this says about me when I go here and I'm seen here. So the same is true with employees. That's why they choose to come work for you, because they want to be associated with that.
Hmm.
I think
Interesting.
it's just part of it, like food does matter. But I think that status matters more. And that's part of that low road, because we're not even aware of that. Like we're not conscious of, it's our subconscious
Mhm.
wanting to identify a certain way. And I think what needs to happen in the industry and what needs to happen throughout society is that we need to collectively look at what the status quo is. We need to look at human nature, parts of human nature that no longer serve us, like ego and greed, and what's the other word? Ego, greed, and status. Like these things don't really necessarily serve us the same way. And we need to make new things cool. And back to psychographics. So if we make supporting a restaurant that is all about sustainability, all about sourcing locally, all about building up their employees, if we make that cool and say it's $5 more for a burger to get it from that place and this place, but now I can say I'm making a difference, because now I can say I'm making a decision that affects my community, that supports my community, that supports a better way of doing things. And I think until we make it cool, until we make it about the psychographics and what our actions says about us, and translating that to the consumer, which is why we need to transform to transform the industry. We need to transform the consumer, because we react to the
Right.
consumer, but we need to inject new values into the consumer. And I
Well,
think
and
it's going to take a collective attempt to do that.
yeah, and I think just like, fashion, there's trends, and
Yeah.
why do they suddenly wear a certain color or a certain look? Because they're told that's what it is. And so I think through our responsibility and taking in our marketing that we choose and how we project ourselves, I am seeing it change, and I love it. I know I personally make buying decisions based on that. I look for companies who are using sustainable local products. organic products who have a give back built into their business system. So I think more and more of that is happening. And I do think it's important that everybody make that important. Put that on your websites. Put that in your go back and revisit your core values. Let all your employees and anyone and every touch point on your business journey, your customer's journey, your entire map of your company, know that, feel that, and then over time, it takes some time, but I think we're started that path, but I think more and more can be done so that people recognize this is what's really important. So Eric, I could talk to you forever. I know you have a hard stop, but I do want to talk briefly because I'm really excited and I want everyone to know about your new expansion of the Restaurant Unstoppable network. So not just your podcast, but your network. And I know I'm really looking forward to being your guest on the Restaurant Unstoppable network, October 1st.
Yes.
And that's doing more workshop style, more focused things. I'm going to be talking about my condensed version of my E3 formula framework. And I'm really excited about that, talking about the emotional intelligence side of that and how you apply that in your business. So would you like to share with everyone some more details of what your goal is for your network, how they can be a part of it?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So it's weird. You call it an expansion, but in my mind's eye, it's more of a retraction. Because I'm trying to it's this idea of not putting the energy out, not doing more, but doing less more intentionally. And focusing. And it took me driving around, doing 3-4 laps around the nation in my car to realize. And I was just trying to meet more and more people and make more and more connections and be in person. But it was super transactional. It was super like, hey, you're an incredible person. I'm here in front of you right now in this moment. But after I leave, I probably won't see you again. And that was my life for like 2 years. So I had a bunch of very short, shallow, not deep relationships in my life, and I was super depressed and lonely and unfulfilled. I'm like, why am I killing myself? I'm not happy doing this. So the idea behind Restaurant Unstoppable Network is to take the lessons I've learned, to be more thoughtful, to slow down. Instead of feeding more people into my life, I want to reflect and look back at this wake I've created, kind of like a chicken digging at the ground. They're just constantly scratching and turning things over. That's what I've been doing for 7 years, and I haven't looked down and taken a bite out of the, I haven't eaten any of the bugs I unearthed. So I want to go back and reconnect with these people who've had the biggest influence on me and just go deeper and invite my most loyal listeners to come join the conversation, to literally live the mission to inspire, empower, and transform the industry. And the way I believe I'm going to transform the industry is literally providing a platform to connect this generation of leaders with the next generation of leaders and to pay it forward. So we're just going to slow down, get super intentional, get live, and I'm just gonna act on all the advice that was given to me in 750 plus interviews. And if you want to join the conversation, if you want to be a part of it, I'll head over to restaurantunstoppable.com. Sorry, restaurantunstoppablenetwork.com, or I think you could even go to restaurantunstoppable.com/network and we'll work.
Yes, that's actually the URL I have up on the screen.
Either one of those will work.
Okay, good. I'm like, because I put restaurantunstoppable.com/network. And I think I got there that way. So
yeah, it's a landing page for the network. So that will work too. And I'm testing it right now. Yes.
Okay.
That will work as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Of course. Or you could put the network after unstoppable, right? .com. That's it. Restaurant Unstoppable Network.
It has its own URL. So you can just go to restaurantunstoppablenetwork.com and it'll bring you there as well.
Cool. Okay. Well, for the sake of time, let me see if I can change that quickly so that we can get that.
And just to give it, while you're doing that, just to give people an idea, it's basically, I'm trying to have repetition. So every Wednesday I do a workshop with somebody, which is live, and you get to join that workshop and ask your questions to the person leading the workshop. Every Thursday I do office hours where I'm just making myself available for an hour to talk shop with people in the industry, but whatever they're doing. And then now every Monday I publish an episode with a restaurateur, but now what we're doing is shop talk, where you get to literally talk to that restaurateur, a Q&A after their episode went live. So it's just, come hang out. It's a lot of fun, and I appreciate your support in advance if you do come join the network.
Yeah, I actually listened into one. They've just started and it was very informative, very interesting. Thank you. And for that matter, we have a comment, very informative session. Thank you from Marsha Raff. So thank you for that comment.
Thank you.
Eric, it's been amazing. I could talk to you forever. Let's do this again. I'm really
Absolutely.
excited to be on your show. So we will get to speak again soon.
For sure.
Um, and thank you for all that you do, all that you give, for being open-minded and really keeping the options open and creating the conversations and making people think. Because to
Thank you.
me, that's what it's about, and that's what makes a community. And I'm happy to be a part of your community. So thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure and an honor to join you.
Thank you. All right, everyone, join us again next week, Thursday, 12 o'clock for Celebrity Customer Experience, Riffs with Jill Raff. And go back, watch the rerun, the replays, and leave comments. And thank you for joining us.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you. I don't know if we're still live. Can they
We're
still hear
gonna,
me?
they can.
All right. I'm happy to chit chat in about an hour or 2 hours if you want. I have to get going because people are waiting in my Zoom conference.